climbing 7,000 feet in 30-odd breathtaking miles, crossing 35 bridges and threading through 30 tunnels carved out of solid rock, Eritrea's railway from the sun-scorched port of Massawa on the Red Sea to the upland cool of Asmara, the capital, has long been regarded as a miracle of 19th century engineering. Started by the Italians in 1887, it was 24 years and many lives before the capital was reached. Thereafter it descended to Karan and pushed across the western plains to Agordat, where after 51 years it reached its full extent of 175 tortuous miles. Out of use since the 1970s, the line was largely destroyed during Eritrea's 30-year War of Independence, and unable to pay the $400 million foreign contractors estimated it would cost to rebuild the line, the Eritreans set about doing it for themselves. The film we proposed is not principally aimed at railway enthusiasts, although of course they will love it. It is above all an African self-help story. A story of how, when the word went out, old railwaymen and engineers, a number in their 80s and some, like Negash here, in their 90s, came out of retirement to offer their services, their imaginations fired by the task in hand, a reminder of times past and a symbol of the country's resurrection. Cut in with Cinecittà and Pathé newsreel film from the 30s and 40s, railwaymen from the past will recall how the line was in Italian colonial times and the decade of change that took place after, in 1941, it came under British military administration. Manuel Gabriel Selassie, coordinator of the project, will tell us of the problems of reconstruction and how solutions are being found. How rails and sleepers have been recovered from far and wide, how with the benefit of new boiler tubes purchased from Italy, historic engines are being refurbished, and how with old machinery and older skills, new parts are being cast and turned in the station workshops in Asmara. Here we see the first engine to be given new life after liberation. Built in 1938, a diesel shunter from the long-closed Drury Car Company in Preston crosses the causeway in Massawa. The film will trace the 45 miles of track so far completed and looks to the stunning landscape ahead. There are 4 tunnels visible in this shot. In its heyday, the railway carried 400,000 passengers a year and over 200,000 tons of freight. At present, 1,000 lorries pound the switchback road from Massawa to the capital, and the toll is evident. When it is completed, the endless flow of freight will once again travel by rail, a huge saving in transport costs. Powerful modern diesels will replace the veteran steam engines, who have a lucrative new life ahead, providing visitors and tourists with a memorable journey through the mountains. The most arduous section of the line, the final climb to Asmara, is scheduled for completion in 2002, after which the opportunity to make a film record of this remarkable enterprise will be lost. Our proposal is to capture these works on film and witness the first locomotive to enter Asmara, the triumphant return of Eritrea's resurrected railway. The April 2002 decision of the United Nations Border Commission, which guarantees Eritrea's frontier with its southern neighbour, has given new impetus to the reconstruction of the railway. Hundreds of fresh hands have been released from the front line and, under the supervision of veteran railwaymen, are rapidly completing the final section of the track. Construction has now taken place in two directions: uphill to Ginda and Mbatkala, and downhill from the central station in Asmara. The two ribbons of track are due to meet early next year, when the bridge at Mbatkala, demolished by Mengistu's forces in the 1970s, is rebuilt by the Ministry of Public Works. Track workers travel to the railhead 12 kilometers down the line on one of 4 Urals, Soviet lorries which were captured during Eritrea's liberation struggle with Ethiopia, and which, with typical Eritrean ingenuity, have been converted into utilitarian railway locomotives. Presently, the most modern engines on the railway are two 1957 Krupp diesels, whose principal work will be moving freight up the mountains from the port of Massawa. Constructed long before the age of containers, the railway's doubters said the tunnels could never accommodate modern 40-foot shipping containers. Here, a demonstration is laid on for the information department to show that these doubts were unfounded. Saeed, the brakeman on this run, remembers the time when 40 years ago, trains ran from the coast to the capital 38 times a day in each direction. Jima, whose home is right beside the track, catches a ride into town. 7 steam engines are now back in service, with 3 others awaiting restoration. This is a 1938 Ansaldo engine leaving the central station on a test run with rolling stock. The completion of the line to Asmara will coincide with the opening of the new international airport at Massawa. And after sunning themselves on the Red Sea coast, visitors and tourists will be able to make the spectacular journey through the mountains to the upland cool of the capital. The reconstruction of Eritrea's railway is not without its critics. Some complain that for one of the poorest countries in the world to devote so much of its resources to an enterprise that they believe will always require government subsidy is shortchanging the people. Others wonder if safety can ever satisfy the standards expected in the 21st century. But talk to the railwomen, talk to the people who remember the railway in its heyday, and you hear nothing but pride in a remarkable piece of engineering and confidence that the line can once again make an important contribution to the country's economy.